There are two developments today from the World Climate Conference. Protesters appeared in large numbers for the first time on the streets of Copenhagen. About 250 of them fanned out from the center of the city, apparently headed for some prearranged targets. Danish police were out in force to meet them. By midday, 50 people had been arrested. Meanwhile, in Brussels, the European Union pledged $3 billion to a fund designed to help poorer nations cope with climate change. Earlier, I talked to the Times' Tom Zeller about both developments. So, Tom, what were these protests really like? How big are they? How significant do you think they were on Friday?
They were significant in that they were the first substantial protests since the talks began on Monday. And people had been expecting that there would be protests and were wondering when they were going to start. So this was the first one. But as protests go, I would characterize it as fairly small, maybe 200 to 300 protesters all told, and the police were pretty effective in shutting them down. The protesters had a plan to fan out across the city and target and perhaps vandalize or disrupt businesses at several large international corporations.
Now, there was actually another development today in that the European Union has agreed to give $3 billion to the fund to help smaller and poorer countries manage climate change. How significant is this development?
It's hard to say how significant it will be. It's not exactly finalized, but it does represent a first step. One of the biggest sticking points in the negotiations so far has been financing for climate mitigation and adaptation for poor countries, particularly island countries who are likely to bear the brunt of climate change. So they've made a show this week of saying that they're not ready to move on in the negotiations until they get clear and very real commitments for substantial financing from industrialized countries.
Okay, Tom, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.